Welcome to The Worthy Woman, a podcast for the intuitive, ambitious woman who's ready to regulate her nervous system, reconnect with her body, and rise to the next level of success, health, and purpose. I'm your host, Joe, manual osteopath, holistic coach, and nervous system guide, here to walk with you as you heal from the inside out and create a life and a business that actually feels good. On this podcast, we explore the connection between your body, emotions, subconscious patterns, and your ability to lead, create, and live from your worth. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Worthy Woman podcast. My name is Johanna. If you are new here and don't know maybe who I am, I am a nervous system and energetic coach for female entrepreneurs, and I just got back from Tulum. So I was in Tulum for a retreat for women. It was like a business brand retreat all about living our rich life, and I wanted to take this episode to kind of like reflect. I did some reflecting already kind of on some of the things that have been coming up for me around this retreat, some of the things that I saw that we talked about. I actually got an opportunity to facilitate at this retreat. So I had the opportunity to step into my role as a leader for the group of women there. And we talked about the nervous system when it comes to business, and what that can kind of like look like and why it's important to kind of look at it. And as well, we did a holy fire Reiki experience to help clear anything subconsciously that's going on to, that could be holding you back in your business or in their business. And it was such a magical experience from all different levels. Like there was my personal experience and what I was kind of going through as we moved into this retreat and went on this retreat. There was also the business side of things for me. And there was what I kind of was experiencing and chatting with the other women about there, right? Like the conversations we were having, the things I was seeing, what people were experiencing. And so for me, this retreat was a huge expander for me. I have actually never traveled alone. So this was like a huge stretch for me from my nervous system of like, having to navigate things by myself, being, in certain parts of mainly just the airport, but like getting to certain parts and being in a different country alone while I waited for other women to show up where we were meeting. And so I'm not a great flyer to begin with. Like I'm not terrible, but I do get kind of like, I get motion sick, and again, I can get kind of anxious. I'm like constantly checking, like, do I have my passport? Do I have my money? So I get a little like in my head about things. And so it went way better than I was expecting, which was really, really nice. Everything went smooth. Everything was good. I found where I was trying to go and where I needed to go. And it was really great to be able to have that experience of traveling by myself. But I was definitely nervous, kind of getting into it all, like to kind of like, okay, and I'm a person, I like to know all the steps before everything starts to move forward. Like I like to know how and what I'm walking into, which isn't always like life, right? And I hadn't been on a plane in like 9 years, so I don't travel a ton. Part of that has just been like my friends and my social circles. We just like don't really travel as friends. Like it's not something we've ever done. Like I went to Barbados for a cruise when I was like in grade like 3. So like when I was really little as a family, we went. But I've never actually been to like Mexico. I've never been, like, obviously I have now, but I haven't been to Cuba. I haven't been to Dominican. Like some people have, that's always where they go. When we went on trips, it was a lot of like Europe and that sort of thing. So we kind of went the other way. And yeah, so I just like hadn't been on a plane in a while. That was stressful in itself too, because I'm like, what is the process? How have things changed? Like obviously, a lot of things are automated, now, and like check-in and stuff is very much like not necessarily with a person all the time, right? So there's just like a lot of firsts when it came to traveling by myself and navigating things kind of like on my own. Then to boot, this this retreat was a financial stretch for me. Like, I was definitely expanding myself or extending myself, maybe more than I should have, but to invest in this retreat because I knew that it was something that was going to be so expansive for me in my business after, right? Like, I knew I was going to get so much out of this, even just from the experience itself. But there was also like, we got brand photo shoots. I had a 90-minute chat with the woman who hosted the retreat around what is my rich life? Like, how do I get there? What are those steps, right? And then to boot, I was obviously facilitating the Reiki portion of things and the nervous system piece. Then we had Jess, one of our other facilitators, was doing breath work. And then we had Sarah, who was one of our other facilitators, doing like subconscious mind stuff. And so it was really powerful just to have all these different women showcasing their gifts, right? And getting to experience that, as well as obviously facilitating, was super, super great. But it definitely was a financial stretch for me to kind of get here, get to there now that I'm home. But it was really, I feel like I've learned a lot. It also, being a financial stretch, taught me a lot about my money wounding and my beliefs still, and my fears that were popping up for me during this time, that was showing me maybe where I have a little bit more growth to do, a little bit more expansion to do in that regard of things, but also kind of like allowing me to see kind of like what's still maybe getting in the way, but learning how to trust in the same moment, right? Like, we can always point out what's like not going great. But for me, I was also experiencing like, okay, I need to trust. I need to trust in the universe. I need to trust that I'm doing the right things. I need to trust that the money will show up. Or I need to trust that, sales will happen and everything is going in the right direction, And so, as much as things were a financial stretch, I was learning a lot through that process of, again, where maybe some of my limitations are, what some of the work I still need to do, and that trust that we need to have instead of living and sitting in this place of scarcity and fear. And then it was my first time facilitating an in-person group Holy Fire Reiki experience. So I've done in-person like treatments. I've done online group experiences, but I haven't actually done anything in person yet. And so that was really exciting and really great to see how everyone enjoyed it and the receptivity of it all, as well as obviously having that experience for myself to know like, okay, what would I maybe do differently? Is there a different way I would organize it, right? Learning kind of through my trial and error. But to be completely honest, it went really well. I think it went really well. And so for me, on a personal level, again, it was like, I knew this experience was going to be so expansive for me and so exciting for me and just so good for me. And even though my nervous system was like, what the heck are we doing? And like, there was an internal knowing that I knew this was right for me, but the kind of more mundane physical world, I was like, oh my God, I don't know, right? Like, it was easy to kind of like get caught up in like fear and worry and stress around, kind of like what was going on for me. And so I wanted to kind of like normalize that, because I feel like sometimes we see people like get these opportunities and we think like, wow, they're in a totally different space than me. And like, the truth is that like, I was still stressing and freaking out about all of this, while also feeling really excited about it, and also allowed myself to say yes to something like this, right? And so some of the reasons why this was able to come to me was because of this energetic work that I have been doing on myself, and then the ability to also like keep me level-headed throughout this whole experience of like, again, traveling on my own and saying yes and going through the money stuff, right? And so this growth that we want to have in our businesses and our life, that like, it comes from like being able to have that capacity in our nervous system, right? And so we have to be able to, again, remind ourselves and also chill ourselves out a little bit, which I find the energy work really helpful for. Um, but we have to be able to kind of like experience maybe some not great stuff or some fears and some anxieties, but still be able to move through it. And that's what having capacity is really about, is being able to take those steps to move through it, right? And I think that like we can do things that are really scary and really stressful maybe, but also still trust ourselves in the process. And that's really what we're learning about, is that again, growth isn't this like absence of like not having fear, but it's really about being able to be present with it and being able to sit with it, but also again, not have it hold us back. It allows, we still have the ability to like move, you know, through that fear and just like do it even though there's a little bit of scarcity there, right? And so our nervous system and our logic is not always like the same thing, right? Our nervous system and our logic can tell us things that maybe aren't the reality, and vice versa, right? And so when we go through these periods of expansion, we go through these periods of growth, it's often going to reactivate wounds and mindsets and things that like from that we've been living in before we can actually get to the other side of it. And so there's always going to be stuff that comes up, right? And yeah, it was just a really good experience for me on a, like I said, a personal level. And you know, moving through all those firsts and the travel and the money and like all of that was really, really good for me to see again the growth, but also to see my expansion of the things that I did that, you know, I might not have maybe done in the past or been ready for in the past, right? And then with women, like we in this retreat, I mean, obviously we're having conversations with each other. We're, you know, doing and being a part of all these like facilitations, right? Like the breath work and the calls and the brand photos and the subconscious work and my Reiki. And we're going through all of that. And we were all really talking about like this balance. What I noticed was like a theme is like this balance of our personal life and our business. And so that's what I really loved about Ashley hosting this retreat, was like, she was like, what does your rich life look like? And that's subjective. And it doesn't just include money and your business, it includes all aspects. And I talk about this a lot, especially when I'm talking to clients about like, we have to have this balance of our life. And it doesn't mean that things are equal, but it's that we can fit all things into our life. Now, some things might, and we talked about this a lot in the retreat with the women, like just through conversations and stuff of like, sometimes we want to focus on our business and we get so focused because we're ambitious and we're, you know, we love our businesses, we love what we do. But it's like, oh, this family thing's coming up, or like, oh, something in my health, or this relationship thing is coming up. And sometimes those things take a priority over our business. And we have to realize there's seasons, right? There's seasons of what takes priority, what is maybe needing more of our attention. And what that means from a nervous system perspective is that we have to be able to navigate taking a step back, maybe not fully, but just partially in our business, and feel comfortable and safe doing that, and know that our business isn't going to tank because of that. And then like put our attention into, again, health, our family, relationships, whatever's coming up for us. So sometimes what I notice with people is like, it's not really that you're actually stuck in your business. It's not really that you're not able to show up consistently, or like all these things that we think we have a problem with in our business. Sometimes what it's actually showing you, that feeling like where you feel like you're stuck, sometimes is that like other things need your attention first, right? Or maybe you've just got a lot going on in your life and that's preventing you from showing up in your business, right? It might not actually be the business that's the thing that's blocking you. It could be something else entirely. And we need to think of our business is part of an ecosystem that is our life, right? And so sometimes there's seasons, right? Like I was just saying, like there's a time and a place to be focused on certain things, depending on what's coming up. But also that also sometimes shows us where things need to change, right? We might need to change something in our health, change something in our family life, change something in our routines, change something in our relationships, get rid of relationships. Like there might be things that have to shift external to our business to actually help our business flow. And that's the nervous system work that people don't always talk about. We always think nervous system stuff is like, you know, okay, do this technique, do this, use this tool, sit and meditate, give yourself time and space. You can give yourself all of those things as much as you want, but if there's still something like an unhealthy relationship that you're constantly around, or there's still something in your health that's going on that needs to be addressed, or you're unhappy in some area of your life and it's not going the way that you want, you have to address that, because it doesn't matter how much nervous system work you do. It doesn't matter how much, rest you give yourself. That thing is still creeping around in the background, right? And we have to clean up some of those energies sometimes if they're happening, in order for us to actually be able to regulate, because those things can be getting in the way, right? When you've got big life things going on, it's hard to put all your focus and your attention into your business, because one, you either don't have the capacity to do that, or two, you are feeling guilty for putting energy into your business because you have this other stuff going on, right? And so it was interesting to have those conversations with the women throughout the week that we were in Tulum and at the retreat, because we all were experiencing this, I feel like, to some capacity. And it's like making space for things in our life, our business, our own sense of self, right? So that we're not neglecting ourselves. And so it's not about balance. There's always going to be like, it's like in a relationship, things aren't always 50-50, right? Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 80-20, sometimes it's 90-10, depending on what is going on. And we have to think of our life the same way as well. It's not about, again, this balance that everything's equal and great all the time. It's that, do you have the capacity to hold it, to hold all of it? And if there's nothing in your life that you would change, but you're still struggling to hold it, that probably indicates that there's a part of yourself that you're not, how do I want to word this? It's like you're not giving yourself what you need. So you might be neglecting parts of your own self-care, your own rest, your own needs in order to make everything else happen. And so we have to do this work to help ourselves, to help the people around us, and to help our businesses. And so it was just a very interesting theme that I noticed with the women, that we were talking about. And that, like, yeah, it's about navigating, like, how can we navigate all of these things? And so, yeah, so that was a very interesting thing to see. I also went through, we did really, really cool, on the last day, like the last full day of Friday, we did this like bike tour, and we went to the cenotes, and, there was just so many new things that I did that I just loved and I experienced, and I pushed myself out of my comfort zone, right? And there was this moment, we were at the cenotes, and so the first one, basically they're like these like swimming holes. I don't know. They're like, they think it's like connected from, like, the water there is collected from like rainwater and stuff. It's very salty. But like they're also connected to the ocean. So I don't really know exactly where they're from. And like they'll have multiple that are all connected somehow through their water system. And so it was really cool, because something that I pushed myself a little bit to do with the first one that we went to was kind of like more in a cave. And then we were like swimming around, whatever. And then the guy was like, oh, we had like, you can actually access, there's like a secret tunnel kind of thing. And so we went into this place, and he was like, okay, so like to get to the other side where there's like another little cave, you have to swim under and go through. And like, first of all, one thing I noticed from this trip is I have not biked in 1,000,002 years. So that was like a whole experience. When they say it's like riding a bike, you do definitely remember how to ride a bike. But at first I was like, what is going on? So hadn't ridden a bike in a while. Also haven't like swam like that in a while, like to actually swim through the water underneath and that sort of thing. So if anything, it showed me that I probably need to do that more often. But I'm usually kind of like afraid of like, I don't like small spaces. I don't really like, and then I'm like, how long am I gonna have to hold my breath for? So, but when I looked, they like have lights and stuff to help light up the water so you can kind of see where you're going. And yeah, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's not really like a tunnel. You just kind of have to go under the rock because it's like connected and it's only like 10 seconds or so that you're like underneath and have to like swim through. And so, and the one guy was already on the other side. So, if anything happened, he was able to kind of grab you and pull you through. And so I decided to do it because I was like, you know what? I'm in Mexico. When is the next time I'm going to see a cenote, especially one like this in this area? And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go under the rock. There's 9 of us at this retreat and only 3 of us did this. And so I was like impressed and with myself. And yeah, I went under this rock and it was really cool. I actually have photos of it. I had posted it on my Instagram, but um, I went under this rock and then I got into this cave and then I was able to see like, they think there's like parts of it was like the coral reef and stuff that's now kind of like a rock. So it was just like a really, again, another expanding moment where it's like I had this courage to go do something that I wouldn't necessarily normally do or like sign up to do. And then when we got to the third cenote, it was funny. The guy was like, it's a Mayan sacrifice, but it's an outdoor one. And they have like 2 platforms that you can like jump off of to go into the water. So that's what he was talking about. But it was really funny. And I jumped off the top one and I don't like heights. Like, I don't know. It was like, once I went under that rock, it was like, I could do anything. And so it was just really cool to, again, have those experiences, do things that I wouldn't normally be comfortable with. I wasn't like, I'm not in like the best space when it comes to my body and what I'm, feeling comfortable, I guess, like in my own skin. Um, but I definitely um I definitely didn't like care so much about like what I was looking like and what I looked like in a bathing suit. And I was just like very much, I don't know, just in this like place of like trusting myself. And um it was just really, really cool. So there was lots of expansion in this retreat and in this experience for me. And it's almost like hard to reflect on because there was just so many things that I experienced. And I just, the expansion for everyone was just, it was so cool to see. Like, everyone was going through different elements of expansion, whether that was like facilitating things for the first time, or jumping off things, or leaving their kids behind to go on this retreat, or actually giving themselves time to rest, which they never do. Trying Reiki and breath work and subconscious work for like the first time. And so it was just really cool to see all these women in one space expanding and trying new things and being able to try it because other people did it and they're like, well, then I can too, right? Like, it was just really cool to watch a group of women experience different changes and shifts. And you know this whole retreat, as much as it was all about like building your rich life and branding and that sort of thing, when it comes to business, it wasn't really about business. It was about also enjoying life while doing business, right? And so allowing kind of like the life part to flow. And I feel like that's partly why like even Friday with the cenotes was so magical. It's like all of us were out there enjoying our experience in different ways, but enjoying our experience even though we were there to build a business. And it wasn't just all this like marketing and tactics and like this and that and all this like structure and routine. It was also about having fun and building connections and, allowing yourself to do things that, again, you wouldn't maybe necessarily like normally do, right? And having new experiences. And there's just something about, again, doing this work, doing in my world, like that energetic piece to shift where I was. And like, there's something so when I was journaling on this morning, it's like there's something, it made me emotional because it's like this piece of expanding and moving into new things and feeling liberated by things that once held you back. I actually had a client who, was it last week before I went on my trip? I had seen her and she was just saying like, I don't know what happened in our session. We did like a business energetic breakthrough session together, and like she's like, I don't know what we did in that session, but like I'm showing up more, and that was her block. Like she was struggling to show up authentically and share herself and share parts of herself and feel confident and show up online the way that she wanted to and share stories that she was afraid to kind of maybe share. And she's like, have you seen me? Like I'm showing up and I'm telling and I'm sharing things. And like it was just so cool to watch her. This is why I love what I do, because it's like it's so cool to see people have those shifts and those transformations and like step out and be liberated from their what once they felt was holding them back. And that growth in the moment, you can't always name it. Like you can't always tangibly identify what shifted. You just know that you felt different. And I was saying this to the women on the retreat. And this is what I feel like embodiment really is about. Because I struggled with this for so long, where I was like, logically, I know, logically, I understand, I'm saying all the right things. I'm, following all the things people are telling me to do, but I wasn't experiencing that shift until I started doing the nervous system and the energetic piece, along with, the thoughts and the subconscious piece and all of that. We can't just try to shift things mentally. We have to shift things physically and energetically as well. Because once you shift things energetically, the real world starts to catch up to you. And we were talking about this in the subconscious mind portion with Sarah, about how she's like, when you shift timelines and when you're shifting things in your life, the energy and the frequency has to shift first. And then once you shift, once your energy shifts, then life takes a little bit of time, but the life in the external world, the opportunities, the things that you attract into your life, those things start to come in over time. And it shifts a little bit slower in the external world because we're shifting our energetic vibration and our frequency. And we do that, again, through Reiki. We can do that through breath work. We can do that through subconscious stuff. We can do it through a million and two different ways. But that's what's actually going to help you create the shift. And that's what helped my client create that shift. And it's what's helped me create that shift. And I can see how it was helping to shift women throughout this week in Tulum. And so it was just really, really cool to just watch all of it. And like I said, it's like so much was happening that I almost like had a hard time like putting it all, reflecting on all of it and putting it all into words. And like there's so many pieces, and it was just really, really cool. So I guess my question for you guys after listening to this is like, where are you maybe holding yourself back from something that would stretch you? But not because it's like wrong or doesn't feel good or doesn't feel right, but because it just feels unfamiliar or it's scary, or like, I know like you could be holding yourself back from doing something that in your heart's heart is like meant for you or what you should be doing, but the fear gets in your way. And so what is that thing that you know and wish and would love to step into? Even if it's just a very simple experience, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, right? But what is it that you're holding yourself back from? And I want you to think about that. And when you think about that, now you have to think about like, okay, what do I do? How do I shift? How do I move through that? And if you have any questions, obviously you guys can reach out to me and you can message me on Instagram. I have lots of different resources and ways that you can start to work through this, whether that's working with me or using some of the resources that I've created. But yeah, it was just such a magical experience, and I'm sure I'll be sharing about it for the next couple weeks as I continue to reflect and integrate after this week, because it was just so magical. And I was really trying hard when I was in Tulum to just like enjoy the moment and not, I had this intention. I was going to like write all this stuff and create all this content and do all this whatever. And I did create content, but I almost like didn't feel called to. It was like I really wanted to just embrace the moment. And now that I'm home, it's weird because it's like, it's really easy to just kind of go back into your old habits. And now I'm starting to realize, like, okay, well, how am I showing up differently though, right? Things shifted, things changed. And now what needs to look different in my everyday life, in my everyday world, in order to create my rich life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, a little bit of education and teaching, but more so about like my experience. And I think we can learn a lot from other people's experiences and what is kind of said, right? And so I'm excited to create my rich life and to move through this in a really expansive way. I can't wait to see where this takes me and where I continue to go. I'll actually be, I'm facilitating another Reiki experience at another retreat. It's a local retreat to me in Ontario here, but that'll be at the end of April. And so I'm really excited about that as well. So there's just so many things. And then there's just my own growth as a practitioner, as a person, as a business owner. So I'm really excited to just see what happens. So if you guys, like I said, have any questions or want to talk to me about anything about the retreat, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram. But otherwise, that is it for today's episode. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you are staying warm wherever you are in the world. I have now come back to the very cold. So I'm definitely missing the Mexico weather, but I will be back next Tuesday for another podcast episode, and we'll dive into another topic. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys then.